My friend's visit had made me very happy. To show him the natural beauty of the city I live in, I'd taken him around from morning till evening. We were tired by now, and it was time to go back home. As we were driving home, a lighted signboard by the roadside caught my attention. The name of a restaurant was written on this signboard. We were feeling hungry, since we hadn't had dinner. After consulting with my friend, we decided to deviate from the main road and head towards the restaurant indicated by the signboard. After a 5-minute drive, we found ourselves in the midst of the forest, greeted by a beautifully illuminated, pleasant venue. Since it was a summer day, there were quite a few people around. My friend parked the car and we sat at a table outside. When the waiter came, we asked for the menu. When the waiter informed us that there was only one type of meat dish available, we reluctantly agreed. My friend got up to go to the restroom and I lit a cigarette and started looking around. At that moment, the waiter came out with plates in hand. He served the dishes, and when I looked at the food, I felt sick to my stomach. The internal organs were almost completely raw. Irritated, I looked at the waiter and complained about how this could be considered food. Laughter started coming from the surrounding tables. Confused, I looked around, and then I experienced the shock of my life. Everyone sitting at the tables whom I had just glanced at was now looking at me and laughing. They were all laughing together and watching me. This must be some kind of TV prank, I thought to myself, as I turned my gaze back to the waiter, only to find an Ifrit before me with elongated arms and eyes turned fiery red, his face contorted to an unbearable ugliness. Then, bending down in front of my frightened gaze, he said, "I guess you didn't like what we ate." What on earth was this? My mind was about to explode. I was trying to get into a position to escape, directing my knees toward the edge of the table. I couldn't respond. I could only stare at the Ifrit in front of me. I looked around again to ask for help from the people around me. Oh God, none of these are human. My eyes had experienced a second shock. These grotesque creatures were laughing incessantly. The fact that my friend hadn't returned from the restroom also frightened me even more. I felt cornered and helpless. Just as I was about to attempt to escape, a horn honked. When I turned, I saw my friend starting the car and calling out to me. I got up immediately and ran to the car with all my strength. Trembling with fear, I told my friend to drive away. I asked him, "What was that?" He told me to calm down. I asked again, stuttering, "How did you know?" He said he would explain, but that we needed to drive for a while. I couldn't interpret what was happening. After about 10 minutes of driving, he pulled over and turned on the hazard lights. He said he needed to get some water from the trunk. I couldn't shake off the shock of the incident. Fear wouldn't leave my body. My friend got out to get water, but I didn't hear the sound of the trunk opening. Curious, I got out of the car. In the dark forest road, there was only me and the car. I assumed my friend had gone to relieve himself among the trees, so I started calling out to him. There was no response. My goodness, what was happening now? I was alone, just staring around. After a while, I heard rustling among the trees. It was my friend approaching. After taking a deep breath, I asked, "Why didn't you respond when I called out to you?" "Respond to what? I didn't hear anything," my friend said. "Then where did you disappear to?" I asked again. "I had to go somewhere else. I was in a hurry," he replied. Then he approached the trunk and lifted the lid. "Come, have some water, you'll feel better," he said. As I approached to take the water from the trunk, my phone rang. I reached into my pocket and took out my phone. When I looked at the screen, I saw that it was my friend calling. Unable to comprehend when I turned around, I realized that the person next to me wasn't my friend, and my vision started to blur. I woke up with a start, looking around in fear. My friend was looking at me from behind the steering wheel. "What are we waiting for? Let's get out and have dinner," he said. I turned my gaze outside. This was the restaurant we had just visited.